Dewitty here, and today I'm going to show you the top 10 most popular chord progressions. At the end, I'll show you how to modify these and my favorite chord progressions as well. And as you watch this video, I'm just going to keep giving you different ways to modify. I'll go more in depth on this in the Modern Music Creator course, but today we'll just cover the best chord progressions to get you started. So, number one, you probably already heard this. This is one chord progression. It's in many different songs. And today, first of all, we need to explain the Roman numeral system. Chords are described using Roman numerals. Capitals mean it's major, and lowercase mean it's minor. So if we're in C major, that means 1 is C, 2 is D, etc., etc. First, we have the most popular chord progression. Once you learn this chord progression, we're going to be able to play like 100 different songs. 1, 5, minor 6, 4. So as you can tell, it's super versatile. And keep in mind that these chord progressions, this is just the base. So as always, you can invert chords and you can take them in different directions. For example, we have the 1. I could also go down to the 5 instead of up. I could go up down here all the way down versus. And I can also invert different chords. So we have 1. Then 5, I can make the B on the bottom. Then the 6, of course, I can make the C, F. So basically all I did for that inversion, this is the most basic inversion where instead of having the root note on the bottom, you're just going to have the third as the root instead. And then you can also do the same thing for the 5th. So it sounds very different, but still the same chord. So use this to modify these chord progressions as much as you want. If you want more content like this, make sure you like and subscribe. I'm really paying attention to what you guys want. Again, I want to say super thanks for hitting 1K subscribers. And I'm just going to keep trying to make better videos every single week. Second one, we have sad but uplifting. So we have minor 6. So it's very simple. You've probably heard this a million times before. And so the trick with this chord progression is it never goes to the tonic. And all tonic means is 1. So if we're in C major, as you can see, I never hit a C chord. I stayed up here. Essentially, the tonic gives you that sense of resolution. But if you don't go back to that tonic, it sort of feels never ending. So use this in your storytelling. Number 3, we have the storyteller. 1, 4, 6, 5. This one resolves with the 5th. So the 5th is also a good way to end a phrase. It's not as conclusive as tonic. Instead of just the root chord, which means you can add sevenths. You could also make it a dominant chord, which just means that 7th, you're going to lower it by a half step. So you could do that. Dominant at the end. So do whatever you want, me. Now. So I'm just going to call this like the inspirational chord progression with the flat 6. So basically the flat 6 from C major. This is 6. This is the lowered 6. Then the lowered 7th. So lowered 6, lowered 7th to the tonic. And the reason this works is because you can't tell we're in C major. But then once you land on that tonic, it feels really nice. This is the jazz chord progression. So you've probably heard this one as well. The 2-5-1. So all it was, the minor 2, major 5, major 1. This one works so well because it's super fun to just play around with and improvise over. Improv in jazz is pretty much you just take a chord progression and using your knowledge of music theory and everything, you just do whatever you want. Again, as we know, we have the bass chord progression, minor 2, major 5, major 1. Everything I've said so far, add the 7th. You can also add the 9th, which would be E. And another way to change up these chords a little bit, instead of just minor, you can make it diminished. So diminished, the 3rd is lowered and the 5th is lowered. It's basically a minor chord, lower the 5th. Next chord progression people like to call the journey. So essentially we're going to have major 4, an inverted 1 chord, and major 5. And to denote that inversion that I mentioned earlier, take that 3rd instead of the root, we're going to make the 3rd the root. So you use that using 1, 6. So a regular 1 is this, an inverted 1 is this. So it's really happy, but also gives you a sense of progression. Because with the stability of chords, I sort of touched upon this earlier, this tonic is the most stable in the chord progression. Because that's the scale we're in. To our ears, that just sounds super stable and super resolved. So even if you just take that and invert it, that sounds less resolved. Whereas this sounds completely different, right? So that's an example of how one inversion can change the whole chord progression. Next we have the minor change, where essentially we're going to take major 4 to a minor 4 to 1. So this can be super dynamic because our ears aren't expecting that A flat because it's not in the scale. So it's a super drastic change because we have that major chord and all of a sudden we have a minor chord. So our minds are like, what the heck is happening? And then you resolve it to tonic. Yeah. So I'm going to use this next chord progression to demonstrate how you can use passing chords. So even if a chord progression is one thing, you can add chords in between those. So for example, let's have a bass chord progression. We're going to go up to E flat. So basically 1. Then we're going to go up to 3, minor 3, all the way down to 5. So that sounds pretty basic, just 3 chords, right? But what if we add chords in between? A lot different, right? So all I did, that's going to be the minor 7. And then we're going to add minor 2. So you're going to hear this a lot in gospel, a lot in jazz. Once you have a super well understanding of chords. Again, I'm going to cover music theory more in depth in my full course. But essentially, as soon as you get more understanding of music theory, you'll be able to take a simple chord progression that I just said, even that basic, and suddenly you'll be able to just improvise, add passing chords, add 7ths, 9ths, 13ths, 11ths, and suddenly it becomes really easy to make a song. Because if you just give me this, just from knowing music theory, I can write like 10 songs. And then finally, my favorite chord progression. So this is my absolute favorite chord progression right now. So we're going to start off with major 1, lowered 6th, minor 4, to the 5. And the reason I like this so much is because there's so much versatility. So we have a major 1, but that could also be a minor 1. We have a lowered 6th, and we have 4, a minor 4, but that could also be a dominant 4. And then same with the 5, that could just be a 5, or it could be a dominant 5, or you could make it a minor 5. So as you can tell, I'm just gonna improvise for like 30 seconds, and I'm gonna switch between these. And I'm also gonna add, so I'm basically gonna combine everything I've said in this video, passing chords. So again, all I did, major 1, we can use that B flat as a passing chord, which is the lowered 7th. Same with the G. Or we could do, you see how versatile these chord progressions are. If you really want to learn more about music production, music theory, and songwriting in general, make sure you watch this video next, and I'll see you there.